All rise.
All right, please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call the roll and get started. Madam Clerk.
Juror number 1.
Here.
Juror number 2.
Here.
Juror number 3.
Here.
Juror number 4. Here. Juror number 5.
Here.
Juror number 6. Juror number 7.
Here.
Juror number 8.
Here.
Are you sure? Juror number 9.
Yeah.
Here. Juror number 10.
Here.
Juror number 11. Here. Juror number 12.
Here.
Juror number 13. Here. And juror number 14.
All right, everybody's present. State's next witness.
Your Honor, the state's next witness. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Mike, pull it up a little closer to you.
I'm in graduate school.
And what type of graduate program are you in?
I'm in a neuroscience PhD program.
And how far are you into that program?
Yesterday, I took my first qualifying exam. I have one more, and then I'll work a few years on my thesis.
Yeah. You're going to have to raise your voice a little bit. I know you may be a little nervous, but you'll have to speak up just okay. And take your time. All right?
I've been in the program for 2 years. The average to finish is 5.5 or 6 years.
And you said that you took a qualifying exam yesterday, is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that program in another state?
Yes.
Prior to entering the PhD program, where were you enrolled in school?
Vanderbilt University.
And in June of 2013, were you in school at Vanderbilt University?
Yes, ma'am.
And specifically in June of 2013, where were you in your degree at Vanderbilt?
I was an incoming senior.
And that summer, where were you living?
I was living at the Village at Vanderbilt. It's an off-campus apartment complex.
And did you have any roommates?
Yes.
And who was your roommate?
Lauren Miller.
I want to draw your attention specifically to Saturday night, June 22nd of 2013. What were you doing that night?
I was spending time with some friends at my apartment before going out.
And do you remember the friends that were over at your apartment?
Yes, it was myself, Lauren Miller, Madison Jensen, Katie White, and a friend of Lauren Miller's from her hometown that was visiting that weekend was also with us.
And what, if anything, did you have to drink while you were at your apartment?
I had one mixed drink at my apartment.
And what, if anything, did you and your friends do after being at your apartment that night?
We took a cab to the Tin Roof Bar.
And was there any particular reason that you didn't drive or you took a cab?
I would never drive to a bar if I was planning on drinking.
What is the Tin Roof?
The Tin Roof is a bar in Nashville on Demembrian Street, nearby campus. It's a popular place for Vanderbilt students to go to.
And once you got to the tin roof, what did you and your friends do?
We said hi to people and we took some pictures.
And at any point, did you see Brandon Vandenburg at the tin roof?
Yes.
And how did you know Baden and Brandenburg? How long had you known him?
I had known him approximately 2 weeks.
And was that a chance encounter, or were you planning to meet him?
A couple of days before, we had talked about how we were both planning on going there that night. It was also just common to see other students there.
And on June 22nd of 2013, what was your relationship with Brandon Vandenberg? Were you just friends or more than friends?
We were more than friends. It was sort of a casual dating relationship.
And once you saw him at the tin roof, what happened next?
He started giving me drinks.
Do you remember the first drink that he gave you?
Yes. So there was an older woman with him that he said was buying people drinks, and he asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted a gin and tonic, and so that was the drink.
And that drink, did you see him, did he just appear with it, or did you see where it came from?
I saw the bartender hand it to them, and then I saw them hand it to him. It was either him or the woman that handed me that drink, but I saw it from the bartender until when it got to me for that drink.
And at any time, did you get a second drink?
Yes.
And could you describe that? What was it and how did you get it?
It was a shot of whiskey. The bartender put a group of them on the table, and I saw him pick one up and hand it to me. Him is Brandon Vandenburg.
And at any point, did you have a third drink?
Yes. Yes.
And do you remember what that was?
A Red Bull and vodka. But the shot in the Red Bull and vodka, I'm not sure about that's one. That might have been second and third, might switch, but the Red Bull and vodka.
And could you describe how you got that drink and if you saw how it was made?
I saw the bartender put a bunch of cans of Red Bull on the counter, and I saw him pick one up and hand it to me, and he told me that I was supposed to poke a hole in it or something, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So he poured it into my empty cup from the gin and tonic.
And at any time, did you have a fourth drink?
Yes.
And could you describe that drink?
So I was turned away talking with other people, and he appeared with a blue drink and a clear cup.
And when you say he, who are you referring to?
Brandon Vandenburg.
Could you describe that process of you receiving the blue drink?
Yes, so he had it in his hand, and he said, out in California, this is our version of the Long Island iced tea, and it's so good. You have to try it. You have to try it.
And did you drink that blue drink?
I remember taking 2 or 3 sips of it.
Do you remember being given any other alcohol while you were there?
There was one other shot of the same whiskey that he gave me, but I was starting to feel intoxicated, so I gave it to somebody else.
What is the next thing that you remember happening after what you've just testified about having a few sips of that blue drink?
The next thing I remember is waking up in a room a really long time later, and I didn't recognize the room. It was around 8 a.m. the next morning.
And could you describe how you were when you woke up? Was it the same that you were when you were at the tin roof?
No.
Could you describe, were your clothes on or were they off?
I woke up in a bed. My clothes were on. My shoes were not there.
Were any of your other belongings in that strange room?
I saw my phone and my keys sitting on top of a dresser next to a TV. So the bed I was laying in, there was a desk next to it, and the dresser was next to that desk. but I didn't see my purse I'd had with me, and like I said, I didn't see my shoes either.
Could you describe how you felt when you woke up that morning?
I felt confused and out of it. I didn't feel like myself. I was in a lot of pain. My left shoulder particularly hurt, and my left wrist. I had an injury on my left knee. I felt sick, and I started to get a headache.
At that moment, when you had woken up in the dorm room, did you know Cory Batey?
No, complete stranger.
Did you know Jaboria McKenzie?
No,
Did you know Brandon Banks?
no.
And how did you ever figure out where you were?
At one point, I walked out of the room, and then I realized I was in Gillette Hall, and I recognized the door of someone I knew, so I went and knocked on it.
And whose door was that?
His name's Jake Bernstein.
And were you able to get in that room?
Yes, he opened the door.
And do you remember what happened next?
I was in there for a little bit, and then I got a call from my friend Madison Jensen, who is one of the people I had mentioned was with me at my apartment and the night before, and then went to the tin roof.
And when did you leave that room, or did anyone else ever come over?
Yes, so after speaking with her, she came to Gillette Hall and to the room.
Miss Jensen.
Yes, Madison Jensen.
And approximately how long did you stay at Gillette?
So after she got there, I slept for a while. The person's roommate was out of town, and so I was sleeping, and then Madison and I left. It was after 11 a.m. before 12.
And how did you leave Gillette Hall?
So we walked out of Gillette Hall, and my car was sitting in the circle outside, and so I got in and drove it back to my apartment.
Did you notice anything different when you got into your car?
Yes, there was blood smeared across the glove box of the passenger seat, and I also saw the purse I'd had the night before. I'm pretty sure was in the floor of the passenger seat.
And did you ever see your purse while you were in Gillette Hall?
No.
And when you got home to your apartment, what happened when you got home?
I saw one of my shoes in the lawn outside of the townhome. Then I went inside and I saw my roommate.
And one of your shoes, was that one of the shoes that you had been wearing the night before?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe how you felt at that point?
As time went on, I was feeling worse. Like I said, I was sore everywhere, but particularly hurt in certain places. I felt ill and had a headache and was disoriented, and those things got worse over time.
Did you have any memory at all from that time the night before where you were drinking the blue drink until 8 o'clock in the morning?
No.
And later that day, on June 23rd, at any point did you see Brandon Vandenburg?
Yes.
And could you describe what happened? Did you speak to him that day? Did you see him?
So that morning when I first woke up, I began texting him because trying to figure out what was going on. And throughout the day, he had been texting me his version of what had happened. And then he asked me multiple times to come back over later that day, and eventually I did. And that was late afternoon, so I think it was like around 5 or something like that.
And at that point, what did you think had happened the night before?
That I had gotten sick in his room, and he said that he had to spend the whole night taking care of me, and he had to clean up my mess, and it was so horrible for him, and I didn't understand how that could happen. All I remembered was having a few drinks with my friends, and so I tried to push more, like how could that happen, and then he would just say, "It was horrible, I don't want to talk about it. It was horrible, I don't want to talk about it."
Had that ever happened to you before?
No.
Had you ever felt that way before?
I'd never felt that way in my entire life.
And when you saw Mr. Vandenberg that day, what, if anything, happened between the two of you?
So for a while we sat and talked, and he kind of suddenly started being very nice. And then eventually he kind of suddenly initiated intercourse.
And was that penile vaginal intercourse?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he use any protection?
He did not use protection, and he didn't ask me if I wanted him to.
And did he ejaculate?
Yes. A few seconds after that, before I really had a chance to say anything about protection.
When did you first learn that something had happened to you other than what Mr. Vandenberg told you on that night?
So on Wednesday the 26th in the morning, I got a call from someone from Vanderbilt, and that's kind of when the investigation started, and as the investigation went on, I learned more and more about what actually happened.
And from that time, from the 23rd to the 26th, what was your understanding of what happened and what was going on?
What Brandon Vandenburg had been telling me.
And when you talked to the detectives after the 26th, you said that you learned more and more. What was the first thing that you learned? Did they show you hours and hours of surveillance video, or what, if anything, did they show you or tell you?
So on Wednesday in the afternoon, they showed me, I think it was 2 or 3 or something like that, like still shots from surveillance video.
What were those still shots of?
Of Brandon Vandenberg carrying me, of strangers lurking around and following.
When you saw those 2 or 3 still shots, what did that mean to you?
It was inconsistent with what he had been telling me.
And at what point did you learn about photographs and video and what happened to you in that dorm room that night?
It was weeks later. I can't remember exactly when the police discovered it, but I didn't actually view surveillance video or any of that evidence until months later in like August or September, around when they were indicted. But I learned as the investigation went on that they had been discovering things.
When the police showed you surveillance video, did they show you clips of you walking from the dorm to the bathroom with a green towel around your waist?
I think I saw a short clip of that, yes.
Do you have any memory of that whatsoever?
Not at all.
Have you ever sat and watched hours and hours of every minute of the surveillance video?
No, I've just seen some parts of it.
And at some point, did the detectives show you photographs that were taken of you that night?
Yes.
Is it your understanding, have you seen all of them?
I've only seen a little bit of it. I looked one time. I think I saw one video and a couple images.
It is previously entered Exhibit 30K. You can remove the Post-it from the front of it and take a look at it. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
It's me. It's me.
Ms. Lackey? And the things that were done to you in that room, did you consent to any of that?
Absolutely not.
I don't have any other questions.
All right, cross-examination. You want to break now?
No, I'm fine.
Right now, I know you.
Objection, Your Honor, to the relevance.
Well, Your Honor,
Objection, Your Honor.
she testified on direct.
You know, I don't think that's important right now. All right?
You're currently in your master's.
No.
You're not?
No.
Oh, what did you say on direct? I apologize.
I'm in a neuroscience PhD program.
Oh, you need a PhD. I apologize. Now I want to talk about your relationship with Mr. Vandenberg. Well, back during that time frame, June 2013. You had known him for about 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during that time frame, you all were considered casually dating?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time frame, do you believe you became really close?
No.
No? You don't believe you were close with him?
And it was 2 weeks.
Okay. And so you didn't trust him?
I trusted that he wouldn't do something like this.
So you had trusted him to an extent, right?
Yes.
Okay. But But you never had been inside his room or saw his room at all before?
No.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about the tin roof, okay? At that time, you were 21 already, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And what year were you? Were you a senior?
I was an incoming senior.
Income senior. So it was the summer, so you were going to start your senior year in August. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And had you been there the entire freshman, sophomore, junior year at Vandenberg?
I'm sorry?
Had you been there the previous years before your senior year? Freshman year, sophomore year?
Yes, I didn't transfer or anything like that.
So you were-
I've been in Vanderbilt since my freshman year.
Oh, okay. And in the time frame that you were at Vanderbilt, how often did you frequent the tin room?
I mean, I'd only been 21 for one semester. I'd never set foot in any bar before I turned 21. But I think maybe we would go.
So you didn't never went out anywhere before you were 21?
I'm trying to remember, ma'am. Oh wait, sorry. What did you say? Did I go out before I was 21? No.
Okay. And so you're saying that you never went in any bar until you were 21 years old?
That's correct.
Okay. And when did you turn 21?
You know my date of birth?
Well, I just want to know, I know I'm just asking, when did you turn 21 so I can see when the first time you went to the tin room fair?
Give it to Mom.
November of 2012.
Okay, so it would have been the November prior to November, okay, 2012. And so, since you had never been since you were 21, you know about how many times you had been there before this time?
My friends and I, maybe 2 or 3 weekends a month would go out, and Tin Roof probably was the majority of those, but not every time.
Okay. And did you all always take a cab when you went out?
Yes.
Okay. Now on this night, you got there around 11:55 or around that time, 12?
Yes, I went back and checked my cab receipt, and it said about that time. Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned checking your cab receipt. Did you do anything else to prepare for your testimony today?
Oh, I'm talking about during the investigation. I went back and so I could give it to the police.
Well, I'm just asking, did you review your testimony before coming here today?
I didn't review anything.
Okay. One second.
We're going to have to take a very short break, about 5 minutes, okay?
All rise.
Court being a 5-minute recess.
right? Now, we were talking about Tin Roof. So while at Tin Roof, Mr. Vandenberg was, you believe he was just being normal and socializing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you say normal, that's just within the 2 weeks that you knew him, right? What was normal for you?
Normal as in not significantly impaired.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Normal as in like acting like a normal person.
Okay. But you didn't necessarily mean normal for him, just normal, like a normal person is what you're saying?
Both.
Mhm. Okay. Now, before this day, had you ever...
Question, Your Honor, into what is relevant before this day.
Well,
She's talking about-
I need to hear the question, and then I can rule on it. What's your question?
Okay. I was going to ask her, has she ever drank before? She had kind of testified that essentially she had never felt that way before, so I was just asking if she ever drank before. Have you ever drank before?
I had before that, yes.
Okay. Would you consider yourself an experienced drinker or still experiencing?
Objection, Your Honor.
She drank before. That's
Okay. And you, I believe, you said you had a really, really bad headache, right?
That's correct.
And during the course of this whole thing, I'm sure you've given multiple interviews. I believe you gave an interview back July 8th of 2013. No, I know that's 3 years ago, so as best as you remember, you had experienced a hangover before.
Kind of, but not that much really.
Okay.
I think that's part of why I was confused. I just kind of blamed it on what I had heard about hangovers.
Okay. And in that same interview, I believe you had said you fell asleep before from drinking in a cab one day?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, on that night, you all started at your room, right? I apologize, June 22nd, 2013. Right before you went out to Tin Roof. That's where we are right now. Go ahead.
On the night of June 22nd, those exact people I mentioned, we were in like the dining area of my apartment, not in my room.
Okay. And when I say your room, I apologize. You guys were in an apartment, not like a dorm room. Okay.
Right.
And you all were pre-gaming.
I mean, that's kind of a slang term, but...
You know what the term means?
We had a couple drinks before going out.
Okay. But I'm asking, did you know what the term means?
I know what it means to me. It might not mean the same thing to everybody.
Well, no, that's fine. Just pre-gaming, drinking before you go out?
We had a couple drinks before we went out.
Okay.
Or I had one drink, but...
And in your drink, you had 2 shots of gin and Sprite?
That's correct. I measured it out when I made my drink.
Okay. And was that right before you left for Tin Roof or when? Do you remember?
No, it was probably at least an hour before we left.
Okay. At least an hour before you left?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe an hour before 11:55 when you got there?
That sounds right, yes.
Okay.
Or that's when I made it.
Okay, you don't know if this
I mean, I didn't drink it right all again. So there was some time that passed as I drank it, but I think I started making it over an hour before we left.
Okay, and then periodically drink it as you're getting ready? Okay, I understand. Now, when you got there, you didn't immediately see Brandon Vandenberg, did you?
It was really soon after I got there, but...
Right. Okay. And so, when he got there, did your friends leave then?
No, not then. But the group of the girls that had been with me, after a little while, they went somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
But there were some other friends of mine were there that were not at my apartment before, and they did not leave.
All right. And so some of your friends, the friends that left, which ones were they?
Madison Jensen, Lauren Miller, Katie White, and Lauren Miller's friend from her hometown.
Okay, they left and went to another party or bar?
I wasn't with them, but
Okay.
my understanding is they went to a different bar, yes.
Okay. And who stayed with you of your friends? Did you say some of your friends stayed with you?
Yes, so I was referring to Juliana Martell.
Juliana Martell?
Yes.
But she was there with other friends, right?
I think she'd come with her roommate.
Okay. You all weren't sitting at the same table together, were you?
I was never sitting at a table. We were just standing around in the same group, but we were standing next to each other.
Okay. So she was in the same group that you were in the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't start drinking at the Tin Roof until Mr. Vandenberg came, right?
I didn't drink until I saw him, that's correct.
Okay. And all the drinks that you had were with him?
Yes.
Okay. The first one was gin and tonic?
That's correct.
Okay. And I believe you testified on direct that you saw the drinks put on the table?
I saw that drink put on a table.
Okay. And then...
Or for the gin and tonic, I guess it wasn't put on. That one was, I saw the bartender hand it to, I believe she handed that to the older woman that was there. And she handed that drink to me, but all of the others, Brandon handed it to me.
Now the older woman, is this the woman that you talked about in your statement?
What statement?
The statement you made to Detective Mayo. She was kind of gross or whatever.
What statement?
Objection, Your Honor. Objecting to the relevance of the question as well as I don't know how the witness can possibly know who he's referring to.
Well, Your Honor,
You didn't identify the statement.
I was asking her about the statement she gave to Detective Mayo, and actually...
Which one?
Specifically, it's July 8th, 2013. Okay. You remember saying that?
Your Honor, I object to the relevance of the question.
Well, Your Honor, on direct, she testified that she got the drink from Mr. Vandenberg, and Mr. Vandenberg got it from
What's the
another
point
one.
here?
Well, I'm just asking, is that the same woman that you were talking about in your statement? That's all.
I don't know if she...
Was that the same woman?
I also told the detectives about her
Okay.
when I interviewed with them. That's correct.
So kind of explain to me how you all, because you said you were standing. I assumed you were sitting, but, kind of explain where you were when you were getting the drinks.
Standing near the bar.
Okay. So you weren't sitting at the bar, you were just standing at the bar and everybody was standing around?
There were no stools, or no one was sitting, everyone was standing.
Okay.
I mean, they're just pretty crowded. It's kind of, that's how it is. There are people standing and it's crowded.
It's really crowded. Okay. So you're standing facing the bar?
No.
Your Honor, what is the relevance of the question?
Your Honor, she's testified on direct that
Could
she
you just
saw.
move it along?
I am, and
mean, we're hearing questions that,
That's fine, I'm just trying to figure out, she said she saw the drink, I'm just trying to see where was her vantage point, that's all. Trying to see what her vantage point was to see the drink.
Okay, I can try and describe it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if this right here is surface of the bar, and if I made an L shape and then continued, there's a corner here and it continued this way. We had kind of like circle of people, and a lot of times my back would be turned to this, and then this would be the area that we were in. But then towards the end of what I remember, we did move over to this more next to this side.
Okay. So from where you were, you saw your gin and tonic, and then the next drink you had was a vodka and Red Bull?
Yes.
Okay.
And sorry, I meant to say, so whenever I saw those drinks, like when you asked, I would see if I'd turn around to that surface when we were standing here.
I'm sorry, can you talk just a little bit louder? I heard you, but I can't really.
Sorry, so when I saw the bartender put drinks down, that was the surface I'm talking about.
Right.
I just want to clarify that.
The surface in front of you or behind you?
Oh, I could turn around.
Okay, so you had to turn
Whenever
around.
I was told, here you go.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So with the gin and tonic, you had to turn around and you saw it, and then with the vodka and Red Bull, you had to turn around and then you saw it, right? Fair enough.
Sort of.
Okay. So the second drink you had was the vodka and Red Bull. You saw that one?
Yes. I saw all of the drinks, but if you mean I saw the bartender.
Right.
The drink from the bartender's hands to mine, yes, for that drink.
Okay. And the Fireball was the third drink?
Yes.
Did you see that from the bartender as well?
Yes.
Okay. And the last drink was not the last one, but the fourth drink was the California Long Island iced tea?
Yes.
And that is the blue drink you're talking about?
Yes.
Had you ever had any other blue drinks from there?
No.
Okay. So you've never had a blue drink?
No, I hadn't.
Okay. And with this one, did Mr. Vandenberg leave the area where you all were to go get it, or did he get it from that same bartender?
That drink, we were still in the same area, but unlike the other times where it was kind of like a group, because like I said, with the Red Bull cans and the shots, it was like the bartender was putting a bunch of them on the table at once, and everyone's like, and so my attention's drawn to that. But that was just him showing up with this specific drink. So, like my attention wasn't
On it.
right until he kind of walked up into my field of view.
Okay. So are you saying you don't think it came from that bartender? You think it came from a different bartender or something?
I'm just saying that I didn't see it
Okay.
until it was in his hands and he was standing in front of me.
All right. And in the statement that you made July 8th, 2013, do you remember being asked about the blue drink? And you answered, did you finish it? You were asked, did you finish it? And you said, probably if it was in my hand, I would have just drank it till it was, I don't know how over what time period I finished it. Like if I drank it really fast or just kind of was carrying it around?
Well, yes, I was speculating.
Okay. So you said you were speculating at that time? You didn't know?
I remember taking 2 or 3 sips of it, and the next thing I remember is at 8 a.m. the next morning.
Okay. But at this July 2008 interview, you didn't say you took 2-3 sips at that one, did you?
In 2008, I was in high school.
July 8th, 2013. I'm sorry. You don't remember? You didn't tell them 2 or 3 sips then, right?
I've told them the same thing every time, and that's that I took a couple sips of it, and I don't remember anything until 8 a.m. the next morning.
Okay, can I just refresh your memory of your statement?
Objection, Your Honor. She testified. She asked her about the statement.
Right. She's answered the question both ways.
Well, she's answered it both ways, Your Honor, but she has said that she doesn't remember.
Come on, please.
Would your July 8th statement be correct?
Objection, Your Honor, to the question.
I moved on. I'm just asking her, is her July 8th statement correct? That's all.
And I object to her asking her about the entire statement in one singular question.
But I tried to break it down.
Answer yes or no, or to the best of your ability.
I told the truth as I knew it at the time.
Okay, thank you. Now, you knew that you were at the, well, I think you testified you were at the tin roof for less than 2 hours?
Around the time I stopped remembering, I think it was more than an hour after I got there, but less than 2 hours.
Okay. And you consumed those drinks within that period of time
Yes.
that you remember? Okay. Had you ever drank that much before?
It was more than I would usually drink. I'm not sure if that was the very first time I'd had that number of drinks.
Okay. But it was just more than you usually drink. And so the last thing you remember is that drink, and then you don't remember sending any texts around 1 a.m.?
I don't remember.
Okay. And did you say you've seen the surveillance in this video? Seen the surveillance?
I've seen a little bit of the surveillance video. I was shown it by a detective at the district attorney's office in August or September.
Okay. And I want to cue up HDMI 2, please.
Objection, Your Honor. I object to any video being shown.
Let's go back for a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Lackey, have you seen surveillance of yourself walking before 8 a.m., drinking water, going in the bathroom?
Yes.
Do you remember doing any of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Had you ever blacked out before?
No, not like that.
Okay. The next memory you have is waking up at 8 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
Or around 8 a.m.
Around that time? Okay. You said you weren't familiar with the room.
That's
So, okay. But you saw your car keys and different things in there?
I saw my key ring, which had keys, including my car keys, and I saw my phone, yes.
When did you figure out that that was Brandon Vandenberg's room?
I think he responded to my text indicating that it was his room that I was in.
Okay. And I believe you testified on direct. You then went to Mr. Bernstein's room?
Yes.
Okay. And did you call him before you went?
Yes, I was knocking and I called because he didn't answer at first. And
Okay.
I called and then he answered.
Now, you said that you woke up, you were in a lot of pain, right? You said your left shoulder hurt?
That's correct.
Okay. Left wrist hurt?
That's correct.
But you didn't feel you had been sexually assaulted?
My whole body really hurt, but I mean, the shoulder was what my focus was mostly on, and also the injury on my knee just because I had, blood and that stuff. So I didn't have a reason to pay attention to specifics of other areas as much, if that makes sense.
Okay. And that was on June 23rd, right?
Yes.
And when you gave an interview on June 26th, you still didn't feel like you had been sexually assaulted?
That's correct. And just to clarify, when I say feel like, I mean like my body. I mean, in my mind, I did not think that at all at the time.
After you left from Gillette, did you immediately go home or did you go out to eat?
I immediately went home, but we did get breakfast at a place that was walking distance after that.
Okay. And your friend noticed vomit in your hair?
So yes, while we were in line at the restaurant.
Okay.
And I was also the first that I had noticed that as well.
Okay. And you never said your head smelled like urine?
I didn't notice that.
Okay. Now, on direct, after that, I believe you were saying Mr. Vandenberg kept texting you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, after...
I just...
That's okay, no problem, no big deal. After you left from being out to eat, did Mr. Vandenberg text you?
Yes.
And was he texting you multiple times?
Yes.
Was he trying to tell you what to say? Or what was he doing in his text?
That day, he was telling me what had happened, because that's why I was texting him, was because I was confused and I was trying to figure that out.
Okay.
So that day, he was not telling me what to say to other people, no.
Okay. He was just telling you his version of what happened?
Right.
All right. And later that day is when you went back to see him?
That's correct.
Was he insisting you come?
He asked, and when I wasn't really responding, he kind of asked again. And,
Right.
but, yeah.
Okay. Now, did he make you have sex with him?
No.
Okay. But he didn't use a condom?
Right.
Was that normal for him?
I wouldn't know. I had never had sex with him before that I knew of.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said I wouldn't know. I'd never had sex with him before that I knew of.
Okay. Now I want to talk talk to you about what you ended up telling the police. Were you telling the police what Mr. Vandenberg had told you? Or what his version of facts?
That's
Objection, Your Honor. She can clarify when
Okay, I'll clarify. In the first interview, July 26th,
yes, the first.
July
I
26th.
believe she's
July.
referring to June 20th.
June 26th, and I apologize, June 26, 2013, the first interview you ever gave?
So Wednesday of that same week, the first interview I ever gave.
Right.
I told them what I remembered and what I didn't, and then I tried to fill in with what he told me, but I didn't act like I remembered those things. But I did share with them what he had told me, and I shared that I believed him at the time.
Right. And when Mr. Vandenberg was texting you, you feel like he was trying to make you feel bad?
Absolutely.
And so after that interview, you gave the police your clothes?
It was not after that interview, but it was that same day.
Okay. The clothes and 2 pairs of panties?
Okay, so it was later that day after the hospital, the detective asked me if I could get the clothes I'd been wearing that day, so he gave me a brown bag, and I went inside and I got them, and then when I went to get the underwear, I didn't know, I knew it was one of 2 pairs, but I didn't know which one, so I just put them both in there.
Okay.
With the clothes, yes.
Now, at any point in time, did you ever delete your phone calls?
I think so, but I did that regularly anyway, just to,
Mr. Vandenberg didn't tell you to do that, did he?
no.
Okay. And so on direct, he talked about seeing some steel shots when you went to the interview, 6/26/2013.
Yes,
And at that time, you believe Mr. Vandenberg was trying to help you?
yes.
And you thought if anything had happened, it would have been the other guys and not him?
I mean, I didn't know what happened.
Okay. And if you told that in your interview, then that's how you felt at that time?
I mean, I remember during the interview, I mean, this is me talking as I was seeing them for the first time, and I was trying to make sense of what I was seeing. So I might have been talking out loud and trying to speculate about it, but
Okay.
I didn't know what had happened.
And I apologize. After you left from eating, did you go anywhere else that day on June 23rd?
On June 23rd, when I was at breakfast, or when we went to eat after. What did you ask, sorry?
Did you go anywhere else?
I went back to my apartment. At one point I did walk over to the pool that was part of the complex for like less, I think, like 5 minutes. But that's the only other thing I did before, and then went back to my apartment, and then the next thing I did was going over back to Gillette.
To see Mr. Vandenberg?
Correct.
Okay, 1 second.
Read it right. What, one question?
Ms. Lackey, you testified that when you got the 2 pairs of underwear to give them to the detective, where did you get them from?
My hamper of dirty clothes.
I don't have anything else.
Any recross? No, Your Honor. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Any other witnesses for the state?
We have an election of offenses that General Moore is going to read.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, in these types of cases, the state has to elect which offenses they believe they approve as it relates to which count of the indictment, so they will read the election of offenses. I will later explain that in the jury charge as well, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please court, there's a jury. Election of offenses. Count 1 of the indictment alleges an act and refers to the following conduct: the digital penetration of a the dorm room located in Gillette Hall on Vandenberg University campus. Count 2 of the indictment alleges an act of exhibit.
All right, that would be number 52.
I would ask the state to rest this case in chief.
All right, thank you. The state is rested. As I mentioned to you a long time ago, when the state rests, I have to take up some legal matters with the lawyers, so I'll need you to step out. And you may well be out for a little while because we may be taking our regular break after a meeting. So it may be 20 to 30 minutes.
All rise.
All right, please be seated. All right, first let's start with any defense motion.
Your Honor, on behalf of Cory Batey, at this time, we would like to renew for the record, the filing and motion that was presented at the last hearing as a judgment of acquittal. Arguing it specifically, Your Honor, but asking that be included in the record for this trial. Cory Batey moves the court to grant a judgment of acquittal. based on the findings of or based on the statements of Mr. Moore, I'll start with the aggravated sexual battery count, Your Honor. The primary aggressor and primary participant in that is now alleged to be Mr. Brandon Banks. Your Honor, based on the requirements in each element of the crime, the state would have to show that Mr. Mr. Banks was aided or abetted by Cory Batey with the insertion of the object. Has been clear, Your Honor. The only possible witness to that was Mr. McKenzie, and Mr. McKenzie's testimony on the stand was he didn't know who put the bottle in. And Your Honor, even looking at the video and the pictures, you never see Mr. Batey with a bottle in his hand. You never see him inserting a bottle. The only hand you ever see with a bottle with regard to this count is Brandon Banks. And there's nothing to suggest that he is coercing or encouraging Mr. Banks, and based on that, we would move that we be granted a judgment of acquittal on count 6. As for count 7, Your Honor has seen the photo. Mr. McKenzie was in the room. Of course, again, as in count 6, his testimony is uncorroborated, and Mr. Batey argues that that the only proof was that it appeared like that. You cannot tell from the pictures, and based on the evidence provided on the stand and introduced, a judgment of acquittal should be granted to Mr. Batey. Your Honor, I had just figured out that the first thing I argued was actually count 5. Mr. Brandon Banks, count 5, aggravated rape, penetrating the anus with an object. And so I need to correct myself for the record that my initial argument, I misspoke that it was aggravated sexual battery. It was actually Brandon Banks. The allegation indictment is Brandon Banks penetrated the anus with an object. I made my argument about it was uncorroborated by pictures, uncorroborated by the testimony on the stand, and count 5 should be dismissed. As for count aggravated, I'll speak to aggravated sexual battery, touching of genitals by Brandon Banks. Your Honor, if you look solely at the photograph and the evidence, it was clear that the touching by Brandon Banks was by Brandon Banks alone, by himself. Mr. Batey is not in those pictures. There's no proof that Mr. Batey is aiding or abetting or assisting, encouraging, and he should not be criminally responsible for the behavior of Brandon Banks as alleged in count 6. As for counts 1 through 4, Your Honor, again, Your Honor is familiar with the pictures. You've seen those. The evidence, there's no corroborating evidence about count 4, penile vaginal, count 3, fellatio mouth, count 1, digital vaginal. There's nothing in the record except suggestions from Mr. Tip McKenzie, whose testimony, Your Honor, is uncorroborated, it's untrustworthy, and based on that, Your Honor, there's no proof in the record introduced or no testimony that Mr. Batey performed those acts. And so based on that, we would move that Mr. Batey that counts 1, 3, and 4 be dismissed.
State's response.
Court laid out ample evidence in this record to go forward on all these counts. Talking about no criminal responsibility, I think clearly the court has seen the evidence that Mr. Batey, the first photograph shown is him taking clothes off the victim. There's a bottle within arm's reach right across from there. Within 40 to 50 seconds, that bottle has been inserted, and Mr. Banks is coming in, doing what he's doing. He's removing the clothes. He's preparing her by digital penetration. So, I mean, obviously, all you have to do is assist or offer to assist in this particular case, and I don't think anyone can argue that he did not assist in the commission of this crime and share the intent. As far as corroboration, I'm sure the court is aware, as you charge it a lot, it's sufficient if corroborative evidence fairly and legitimately tends to connect the defendant with the crime charge. That's all it has to do. Put him on the crime scene is sufficient, and we definitely have him on the crime scene. Videos, photos, video surveillance, so I think there's no question that the accomplice testimony is corroborated sufficiently under the law, and also these counts should go to the jury for their determination.
All right. Well, all that has to be raised is a jury question with respect to all of the counts in this indictment. And I think based on the testimony, the videos, etc., a jury question has been raised as to each count. As such, I will respectfully deny the motion for judgment of acquittal. All right? Next issue, do you intend to call Mr. Batey to testify?
We have not made that determination at this time.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. At some point, we'll find out. All right? Any other issues? All right, we're going to take our regular break, 15 minutes, and then we will resume with the defense.
All right. Been a 15-minute recess.